Hello and welcome. I'm Marjorie Saulson, and on today's Coffee and Coaching Club, we're going to talk about how to look your best on video and Zoom, seeing that's where a lot of us seem to be spending a lot of time. So I would like to introduce to you my wonderful program manager, Margaret, who is going to tell you how you can ask questions when I'm finished sharing after about 25 minutes. Margaret.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. So at the bottom of your screen that you're looking at right now, if you hover at the bottom, there's a Q&A button you can press that will open up the question and answer box. And you can type any questions you have during the session in there. And we'll make every effort to get every question answered before we close today. We are committed to ending on time. So enter all your questions. If we don't get to it, you'll get an answer after the fact.
Thank you very much, Margaret.
My pleasure.
Okay, so the question is, what are the key factors involved in looking good on video and Zoom? First of all, why is it even important to look that good when you're on a video or on a Zoom call? And what do you need to do to set the stage for the background and create the fact that you are the star? So that's even on a big call where there are tons and tons of people. You are the star when you are the person speaking, especially on a Zoom call. If somebody chooses the speaker option so that whoever's speaking fills the whole screen, you want to make sure you look really well. So video has this tremendous impact. And this, I've chosen just 3 statistics out of a whole bunch of amazing statistics about the impact of video. It drives 150% increase in organic traffic. Can you imagine that from search engines? Everybody's talking about SEO. Easy peasy way to get better at SEO is on video. And then in an introductory email, everybody says, I got to increase my click-through rates. Wow, practically doubled, 96%. And then, get this, on social media, it drives 1,200% more shares. Can you believe this? Than text and images combined. When I saw that number, it really blew the top off my head. I couldn't believe it. But evidently it's true. So people, are accessing YouTube and all types of videos, and it's a huge part of a successful PR, publicity, marketing, business campaign. So here's how people assess what you say. Actually, how they assess you in the first place. 55% is body language. In other words, how you present yourself on video and Zoom. So are you looking interested, and are you connecting visually with the audience, or are you spacing out someplace? 38% your tone of voice, and 7%, that's all, spoken words. Of course, they affect your tone of voice and your body language. But it's really important to remember that how you look visually, how you look is really important on both video and Zoom. So what do you do to set the stage for yourself and improve your chances of right out of the box? Because if you're on a big call, a lot of times you're not the person talking, but you're still sitting there and people are still possibly looking at you. So setting the stage is really important. First of all, it's a very good idea to close all other programs on your device. If you're on a PC and you have a whole bunch of other websites open, that draws a lot of the juice out of your program that you are in.
Bandwidth.
Bandwidth. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good on the words. The techie stuff, I depend on Margaret. What can I say? Anyway, you want to close out all those. And if you can be hardwired instead of using Wi-Fi, that's wonderful. Then control noises. If there's fans or air conditioners or phones, If you are in charge of scheduling something, don't do it the day the guys come to mow the lawn. Really, think about it. I mean, sometimes you can't help it because when you're not in charge, you don't schedule things. Or sometimes the guys show up to mow the lawn when you're not planning on it. But insofar as is possible, control background noises. That's not so important when you're not talking because, of course, you mute yourself. But when you are speaking, especially if you're the presenter, you don't want a bunch of gobbledygook going on in the background. And have a neutral, non-distracting background. You are the center of attention. And make sure your face is well lit. I don't know how many times I've been on Zoom calls where I'm looking at people and it's like they're, I don't know, they're in shadow. You want people to see your face. It should be well lit from the front so that people can really see you. So there's a few more things that you can do. Avoid sitting with a window behind you. Well, right behind you. I end up sitting with a window behind me because in my office, it's how it's designed, but it's quite far behind me. If you have a window that's close behind you and the sun is shining through it, it puts you into shadow. So be very careful about the lighting that way. And where possible, use an external microphone. You will get better sound. And that will improve how you come across. And avoid an animated background or a cutesy background. You want to look professional. And consider a virtual background. For example, the lighting in my office is fine in the daytime, but at night, in order to get enough light, I have to use some other ceiling lights, can lights, and somebody said, oh, those look terrible and you get all that glare. Well, they light my face perfectly well. So in order to avoid that other problem, I found this picture and I use that as my virtual background. And you can go into Zoom, and when you turn off your video and press the little up button, there is a choice there for virtual background. And Zoom gives you like 4 choices, but you have the option of uploading your own picture. And lighthouses are part of my brand. So I found this wonderful picture of a lighthouse. And of course, I love, love, love how water looks at sunset. And so this picture is the picture that I use as my virtual background. So you are the star. So how do you create yourself in that persona? First of all, you want to wear a medium color tone so your face stands out. For example, blue or green. Black and white, by the way, are totally avoidable. They are very hard to light properly and they don't show up well. Also avoid really busy patterns because they draw people's eyes away from your face. And if you want to look kind of extra chunky, wear something, you know, that's got this big pattern, you know, and whatever, and really detracts from how you look. So that's important, what color you wear. Now, jewelry can be a distraction. And I have to tell you, this is a hard one for me because I love jewelry. But I have to be careful not to wear some of my more wild pieces because they are a distraction. And make sure, please, that you are well groomed. I mean, you're on there, you're on Zoom from home, but don't just kind of tumble out of bed and tumble in front of the screen. Really, think about it. In fact, I want to share with you a quote from a gentleman by the name of Paul Feig. You may not know his name, but he's been directing movies, The Heat, Ghostbusters, a bunch of other ones. And one of the questions somebody asked is, you know, Do you wear your trademark suits at home? This guy evidently wears beautiful suits. And he says, during the daytime hours, I tend to just throw on my jeans and a comfortable shirt while I'm writing and working. But, and listen to what he has to say, whenever I have a Zoom call or a video conference, I put on a suit and tie because it's still a business meeting. The fact that I'm doing it from home doesn't excuse me from dressing like a professional. There seems to be this belief that since we're all stuck at home, we can just get on a video conference with our bosses in sweatpants and t-shirts and 5 o'clock shadows. Business is still business in my book. And so I expect people to present themselves as professionals when we're working. That said, you can still wear shorts or jeans with your jacket on a video conference call because nobody sees your legs. My one rule on a video meeting is never to make the other person stand up. Don't you just love that? So you want to dress professionally, or according to whatever your brand is in your business, that's how you should present yourself. And you want to sit close enough to the screen so that your face really fills a lot of it. People want to see your face. And by the way, smiling is wonderful. I didn't write that in there, but it's so much more pleasant to watch somebody with a pleasant expression on their face rather than a frown. And you want to feel, wow, I like this person. This is a friendly person. And when you're not talking, rather, hit mute. My husband has a wonderful habit of popping into my office. Even when I put a sign on the door sometimes that I'm on the air. So, you never know who's going to be popping in on you. So do hit mute when you are not talking. But by the way, avoid turning off your video. Be there. And it's important, and this is something that's almost counterintuitive. You have to look at the camera, not the screen. Take a look at yourself and see what direction are your eyes going in. I have gotten to the point where I'm talking to somebody on video. I move their face right in the middle of my screen, right under the camera. So I can still feel like I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at the camera so they know I'm looking at them. Couple other things. Don't eat during a meeting. That's very unprofessional. Avoid it if you can. I know, now this is really tricky. I live in the Eastern time zone, and I'm at all of these meetings that seem to be in the Pacific time zone. And so sometimes it's really a stretch to figure out when I can fit in what for me is a meal time when things are just going on. But insofar as is possible, try not to eat during a meeting. If you absolutely have to eat during a meeting, that is a time to turn off your video. And please act like you're paying attention. I mean, really, people can see when you're kind of zoning out. And it's really disrespectful to whoever is talking or presenting. And you totally lose the visual connection with the other people on the Zoom call. It helps to nod your head, focus on the screen, applaud when it's appropriate, all those things that indicate that you are participating. And then do speak slowly and clearly. You want people to be able to understand you. And because it's going through the ether, as it were, your voice, when you speak too quickly, does not come through as clearly as it does when you are in person. So be sure to speak slowly, clearly, enunciate, use some vocal variety, and speak with enthusiasm and energy so that your voice supports your looks. And if you're on the phone, please don't walk. It's enough to make other people dizzy. if you're on a Zoom call on a phone, and honestly, I've seen really top-notch marketers and so forth doing kind of podcasts or promotions on the phone, and they're walking, and it makes me dizzy. I mean, you know, please, it's very distracting. And watch your, I couldn't resist putting this picture in to watch, you know, your facial expressions when you happen to be on Zoom or walking or whatever. It's really important that you look attentive, that you look interested. People are judging you on how you look. That's the truth of the matter. So be sure that you feel comfortable in how you present yourself on Zoom and on video. So basically, we've gone over what I consider the 3 key factors for looking, you know, for presenting yourself well on video and Zoom. And the first is to remember that this is really important. The video and Zoom are probably the most important ways these days to promote yourself as any that I can think of. And I think that this is going to keep growing. YouTube keeps increasing its reach. The number of videos that go up there, it keeps growing exponentially. The number of searches that are done on YouTube, I think it's the 2nd most used search engine after Google. And there are people who say that one day it's going to surpass Google. And so much business is conducted on Zoom, which is also a form of video, really, because you are on a video, that it's really crucial that you present yourself well, that you set the stage. And it's interesting, you can, especially if you are in a space that's either small or you have a really messy desk, sometimes that you can't get cleaned up in time for a video. Searching around for a picture that fits your brand and that is a nice background that you can use as a virtual background. Those virtual backgrounds are a little funny, by the way, because if you move back or you put your arm back, it's like it disappears into the background and all of a sudden you've lost half your arm visually. But other than that, they're a wonderful way to rescue yourself when you are in a place where the background simply is not up to your level of your standard of operating. So that's a really important part of setting the stage, because so much is judged by people as judged visually. Remember that statistic that people judge you immediately by how you look, and it's 55% of how people get meaning from what you share is how you look. So setting the stage is really crucial. And remembering that as long as you are on the screen, even if you aren't talking, even if you haven't been talking for half an hour, somebody out there may be looking right at you. You are always the star, even if you're not talking. So those are the 3 things, or the 3 areas that I wanted to share with you today. That's just the tip of the iceberg, of course. So I would like to invite you to our next Coffee and Coaching Club meeting. And this is a real key to upgrading your confidence. If you're somebody who is nervous or afraid of public speaking, one of the best things you can do is to have the beginning and the end of your talk absolutely fabulous, so that you know exactly how to start and exactly how to end. And so we're going to be talking about how to do that. Gives you tremendous confidence, so that you end with a bang and not a whimper, so to speak. So that is our next Coffee and Coaching Club topic, and you can sign up for that at coffeeandcoaching.club for that, and also for the one that comes after that. Our wonderful Margaret will be putting that up and updating that soon after we finish today. And I invite you to take complimentary communication confidence assessment at vibrantvocalpower.com/CCA. It enables you to take a look at your communication skills and where you feel really wonderful and competent and confident, and what are the areas where you really need to look at perhaps up leveling your standards and abilities. So that is available at vibrantvocalpower.com/CCA. And my bribe that I offer for you to do it is that once a month I will choose somebody who's taken the assessment, send you an email asking you for your street address so that I can send you a copy of my international best-selling book, Empowering Business Owners to Overcome Speaking Fears, whether you're talking with one person or 1,000. So that brings me to the end of my formal presentation, and I am now available for any questions or comments that you may have. And wonderful, Margaret.
We've got some great ones.
Oh, okay. Oh dear. When she starts giggling, I know I'm in trouble.
Well, so someone interject. So I have a couple of interjections. So one is, when you're on video, don't roll your eyes and don't pick your nose.
That is excellent advice.
Yeah, and just a reminder, if you have questions, go ahead and click the Q&A box open and type them right in there.
And I'm sure, yeah, no, and I must say, you know, I love to interject graphics to make my points, and I'm certainly glad I didn't even think about the nose picking one, because I certainly would not have included that graphic.
Right, right. And I think we're all reminded of that video of that poor woman who decided to walk with her Zoom meeting open and her video on right into the bathroom.
Oh dear.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Yes.
So, but here's a question from one of our folks. Sue wants to know, do I have to wear pants? And I think you kind of answered that. I told you, we've got some doozies here.
Well, let's just say they don't have to match your outfit. But it is a good idea, just in case you need to leave to make a comfort stop and you forget to turn off the video. Right. I heard that there was somebody who actually was bearing all for the audience. Mm-hmm. So, yep. You know, they can be comfortable. They can be your jogging pants. They can be your yoga pants. They can be shorts. They can be a Speedo swimsuit, for goodness sake. But do cover your bottom, please, just to be on the safe side.
So do virtual backgrounds work well without a green screen?
That's the whole point of them, is that you don't need a green screen.
Now, I will say that, if I may, because I've recently gone through a great deal of experimentation with this, as you know, Marjorie, that if you have a green screen, a virtual background and good lighting can make it so that your arms don't disappear when you turn your head. But in most cases, you don't need a green screen to have a virtual background.
Yes, and somebody who taught me about it said that you should click on the mirror effect. I don't know why. I think it just reverses you, but do you have any idea, Margaret, why you would need to click on that?
Well, I can tell you why I click on it, because if I have to adjust my green screen behind me, when I'm looking at myself in the meeting, trying to adjust, I always adjust it in the wrong direction, because when I hold up my right hand, it appears on the left side of the screen and it gets me confused.
Okay, all right. I'm so glad to understand why that's important. I depend on you, Margaret. So
well, and if you have like a schmutz on your face and you try to take it off, if you're not mirrored, you'll try to adjust the wrong side of your face. So Eileen would like to know, what do you do if you need to wear glasses, but the glasses reflect light and cause a glare, making it hard to see your eyes? Should you remove them during the call?
Okay, so it's interesting because I have two different pairs of glasses that I sometimes wear. The glasses I have that have a flat lens the problem is much less with a glass that is a flat lens. when the lens is curved, if I wear those glasses, there's a lot more glare. And the truth of the matter is that some of the time, depending on your lighting, slightly changing the angle of your head, either slightly dropping your chin or raising it, may get rid of the glare. You have to play around with it. If you can get along without your glasses, then I would say do so. But if you need them, use them. You are not the only person around who needs glasses. Not the only person around who sometimes has that problem.
Exactly. Jose is asking, what are the pros and cons of using PowerPoints versus just speaking on a Zoom call? And I got to tell you, I thought we might get a question about this because you've been saying how to look your best, but we haven't seen you. So, so you have not been showing yourself because you have a PowerPoint. I think this plays right into Jose's question.
Okay, so when you are, there's two kinds of things. One is when you're making a presentation. If you're doing a presentation like I am now, where it's appropriate, it's a teaching session, as it were, a training session, and so you're using a PowerPoint. You do have a picture of me, of course. That's the professional hair, the professional makeup, the professional photographer. And I don't very often reach that level of put together. I do my best, but the thing is that it depends on the situation. When you are presenting as the presenter and you're presenting a training or a webinar, certainly you're using a PowerPoint. I actually save my PowerPoints as a PDF because I find they jump around on me less. For some reason, PowerPoints jump around on me. I don't know why, but maybe my finger is too heavy on the keyboard. But anyway, so that's a totally different situation than when you are on a Zoom call. Whether it's, and don't forget, Zoom calls can be, there's a whole different variety of Zoom calls. Some of them are coaching calls with clients. Some of them are enrollment conversations with potential clients. Some of them you're on a networking event. All my networking events lately have been on Zoom, and people take turns introducing themselves and saying what they're up to lately. Some of it you're on a retreat or a training where you're there, for all day or 3 days, whatever. And you are part of a group that is being trained. Very often those groups will be split up into breakouts where you will end up with a few people from the group. And so it all depends on the situation, but the fact of the matter is, unless you are the trainer who's using a PowerPoint or PDF, people are gonna see your face.
Now, just to be clear, we're not seeing anybody's face in this call.
No.
Because it's a Zoom webinar, but if it were a Zoom meeting,
Yes.
then you would all have the option of having your videos on.
Right.
So a comment from Joe, I find that dressing professionally makes me act more professionally when I'm on a call. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Clothing is a message, and the people who see you in that clothing are not the only ones getting the message. You're getting the message that, when you put on a uniform, as it were, a business uniform, and from the quote that I read for you, that, I mean, this gentleman, he feels, when he's doing business, he should look like he's doing business. Even if he's wearing jogging shorts, he's got his shirt and tie and jacket, and he's dressed for business because he's conducting business.
And it makes him feel like he's doing business.
Not only makes him feel like he's doing business, but the people with whom he is connecting see that this is business. This is not, chit chat with friends on Friday night over cocktails, you know, whatever.
Right. Well, it's kind of a costume, right? In fact, I'm reminded years ago there was a movie named Hook where Dustin Hoffman actually played Captain Hook and Robin Williams was Peter, you know, a grown-up Peter Pan. And Dustin Hoffman made a comment that he never quite felt like the character until he put the teeth in. And then he instantly changed into the character. And quite honestly, when you're doing business and doing professional things, putting on the business attire is kind of like putting in the teeth, but you morph into the business person.
Yes, absolutely. Well, oh dear. Are there any more comments? Because we are at the end of our time together.
Just one other maybe should be real quick. It seems like a Zoom trend I'm noticing is being in front of bookshelves filled with books. Are you saying maybe don't do that?
No, the reason people like to have bookshelves as a background, and by the way, this predates the current explosion of use of Zoom, but a lot of times when you watch news programs and they're interviewing experts and political figures, they're very often shown with books in the background because the message it sends is that this is a professional who's well educated.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
so the background you choose is part of the message. I chose a picture of a lighthouse because lighthouses are a significant part of my branding. I come from Michigan and we have more lighthouses than any other state in the union because we're on 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. You see the picture on my book. What's there? It's a lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to pick a picture that's a background, think about what kind of branding. What's your brand? What's your visual brand? And that's what you might want to take a look at.
Great. That's it, Marjorie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad you could join us, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye-bye.